On a crisp October morning in 2023, the world felt right. The air around Willow Creek, our family's lakefront property in northern Montana, carried the scent of pine and damp earth. The lake, a shimmering expanse my grandfather purchased decades ago, lay still as glass, broken only by the occasional ripple of a trout. I was tending the fire pit, the old blackened coffee pot hissing as it brewed, while my wife, Emily, worked the cast-iron skillet, the sizzle of bacon blending with the wood smoke. Our two-person tent stood proudly on a patch of flat ground I'd cleared years ago, a spot that felt like home in our bones. Emily, a former Army Ranger with a medic's precision, moved with quiet purpose, checking the tent's guy lines. She caught me watching and flashed a smile that could calm a storm. This was our sanctuary, a place where the chaos of the world couldn't touch us. Or so we thought. The peace shattered with the screech of an engine tearing down our private dirt road. A black SUV with a gaudy HOA logo skidded to a stop, kicking up dust that settled on our tent. Out stepped Margaret Hensley, the HOA president, a woman in her early 50s with mirrored sunglasses and an air of untouchable authority. Clutching a clipboard and snapping photos of our campsite with her phone, she looked like she'd come to war. We'd heard of Margaret's venomous newsletters, and her obsession with rules were infamous in the Pine Hollow subdivision, but this was the first time she'd crossed the clear, private property sign my grandfather had planted, which I'd replaced twice. "Morning," I said, keeping my voice steady, coffee mug in hand. "You're on private land." She ignored me, striding toward the tent like it was a crime scene. "You're in violation," she snapped, eyes glued to her clipboard. HOA Rule 12, Section C. No overnight camping in community areas. I took a slow sip. "Ma'am, this isn't community property. This is our land, deeded and filed with the county. Your rules don't apply here." I pointed to the survey markers. "Your authority ends at the public road." Margaret pushed her sunglasses up, her eyes cold and narrow. "The board voted. New bylaws. Everyone complies." She waved her phone. "I've documented this. You've got 1 hour to dismantle this tent or face fines." Emily stopped adjusting the tent, her gaze locking onto Margaret. "You need to leave our property," she said, her voice low but sharp, like a blade drawn slowly. "That's not a request." Margaret's face twisted. She didn't like being challenged, especially by Emily. "I'm the president of this association," she shrieked. "You don't tell me what to do." Emily's voice stayed calm. "The law says you're trespassing. Leave." That's when Margaret snapped. Her hand dove into her oversized purse, and time slowed to a crawl. She pulled out a small, nickel-plated revolver, its barrel shaking as she aimed it at Emily. The world went silent. No birds, no wind, just the pounding in my ears. I froze, my mind racing. But Emily didn't. Her eyes flicked to the gun, and in a single heartbeat, she took a deliberate step forward. Margaret flinched. Emily's voice was a whisper, deadly calm. "You've just made the biggest mistake of your life." Margaret's bravado crumbled, her arm trembling as she lowered the gun. I grabbed my phone, dialing 911 with shaking hands. "There's a woman on my property pointing a gun at my wife," I told the operator, giving our address at 472 Aspen Trail. Sirens wailed in the distance, and Margaret's panic took over. She stumbled back to her SUV, but not before Emily, with a fluid motion, unholstered her own licensed Sig Sauer, holding it low, muzzled down, a quiet statement of control. Margaret's eyes widened, and she fled, screaming, "This isn't over," as she sped off, gravel flying. A sheriff's deputy arrived, his body cam rolling. He listened to our account, then Emily's, her words precise, like a mission report. He gave us an incident number and left. We packed up, not because Margaret won, but because the peace was gone. Back at our main house, we thought it was over. Then Monday's mail brought a bombshell, an HOA eviction notice, signed by Margaret and her secretary, Linda Voss. It claimed we'd violated Rule 12 by camping and accused us of threatening Margaret with a firearm. It demanded we vacate in 7 days. It was a lie, bold and brazen, printed on official letterhead. Emily read it, her face unreadable. "They just declared war," she said, her voice like ice. "And they don't know who they're fighting." We turned our kitchen into a war room, building what Emily called a fortress of facts. I called the sheriff's office for the 911 log. which confirmed our call about Margaret's gun. I pulled county records showing our land parcel 312 hours outside HOA jurisdiction. Their bylaws, posted online, included Rule 12, supposedly passed in January 2023. But county zoning records, dated April 2023, showed the HOA's boundaries were set after that meeting. Margaret had backdated the minutisa forgery. We filed it all in an accordion folder labeled HOA. Emily worked the human angle, talking to neighbors. Tom Baxter, a lifelong rancher, mentioned Margaret's history of waving her gun at kids fishing near her dock. Another neighbor, a former HOA board member, admitted Margaret routinely faked meeting minutes. We documented every word. Then the deputy's report arrived, confirming Margaret brandished the gun first. It was gold. But the HOA struck back with a PDF ledger of fines $22,750 for nonsense like unauthorized fire pit usage. It was a number meant to crush us. Emily saw it differently. She's desperate, she said, a faint smile on her lips. She's sloppy. We called in Carl Weaver, a retired county surveyor who knew property law cold. He confirmed on video that our land was beyond HOA reach. We installed a trail camera at our driveway, catching Margaret's SUV and others creeping by, snapping photos. Another letter arrived, demanding an HOA compliance inspection. I sent a certified letter citing state law, denying entry, and warning of prosecution for trespass. The trail cam caught Margaret ripping it open, her face twisting as she crumpled it and screamed into the empty air. Then came the lawsuit. A downtown law firm, with embossed letterhead, served us a summons for an emergency injunction, claiming we were a public safety threat. At the hearing, Margaret, in a garish red suit, spun a tale of Emily charging at her with a gun. Her lawyer's smugness vanished when I presented the deputy's body cam footage. The courtroom watched Margaret pull her revolver, heard Emily's calm warning. The judge's voice was steel. This is a felony, Ms. Hensley. Your testimony is perjury. He denied the injunction, warning her against further harassment. We walked out, victorious until her lawyer handed us a new civil suit for $75,000 in rule violation damages. Margaret's threat on the courthouse steps, "You'll regret embarrassing me," was personal. The war wasn't over. Emily decided we'd stop playing defense. We mailed evidence packets to every HOA member, the judge's ruling, the forged minutes, the plat map, and a link to the body cam video. 2 days later, Tom Baxter called. His cousin, who mowed Margaret's lawn, revealed she'd been paying her nephew's fake security company with HOA funds embezzlement. We hired a private investigator, Frank, a retired trooper, to record Margaret at a settlement meeting. She admitted to falsifying minutes, smugly calling it standard procedure. We had her on tape. We sent the audio and evidence to the state HOA board and sheriff's investigations unit. 2 days later, patrol cars rolled past our house to Margaret's. Tom pulled up, whispering, "They've got her." The radio crackled, "One in custody. Felony embezzlement." Margaret's resignation hit the HOA website 3 days later, a curt surrender. She faced charges, assault with a deadly weapon, falsifying records, and embezzlement. The $75,000 lawsuit vanished, and the new HOA board, led by Tom, repealed Margaret's rules and sent us a check for $29, $250 fines plus damages. That next October, we returned to Willow Creek. The tent went up, the coffee brewed, and the lake sparkled. Emily raised her mug, clinking it against mine. The peace was ours again, one with truth and patience. Some people think they can rewrite reality with loud words and fancy paper. They're wrong. Truth doesn't bend. What do you think? Could you stand up to a bully like Margaret, or would you have folded under the pressure? Should HOAs have this much power, or are they just playgrounds for petty tyrants? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories of justice served. Where are you watching from?